The goal for this video is very simple. Let's condense 6 months of building voice AI agents for businesses all the way down into only a few short minutes. After working with many companies across various different industries, from waste management to Airbnbs, I've noticed two very big mistakes. First of all, business owners have no idea this tech exists, or those who do are way too slow to implement it, which means the competitors already use this to cut costs and steal customers. And the second big mistake is for the developers. They're chasing shiny objects, they're using the wrong tech, and overall, by the time that they've decided on something, it's already outdated. So today I want to solve both problems. First of all, for the business owners, give you a blueprint to find out, where do I use this? Is this for me? And how much money am I leaving on the table by not doing this sooner? And second, for the developers, I want to show you exactly how I architect my builds, what to ignore and what to prioritize. If you are new to the channel, then welcome. My name's Liam. I've helped businesses all over the world to save tens and tens of thousands a year using AI. If you would like to do the same for your business, there are links down below to book a free AI consultation call. As always, there are only 3 spots available for this video, so I hope to see you in there, and now let's dive right in. Alright, so first of all, for business owners, how do you know this tech is for you? What does it even sound like? What do I make with this? Where do I begin? So if you've never heard an AI voice agent in action, I would recommend checking out this video. It'll give you a feeling for what this tech can already do, what it sounds like, and overall, what you can expect from this technology. Now, once you've watched that video and have a rough idea of what AI voice agents actually sound like, this is a more in-depth overview. As you can see, behind here I have a bunch of information, and I've also prepared some gifts for you, which you can download using the second link in the description. Under the resources section, you will find a link which will lead you over here. And there you can then also access these 2 tools, which you can use to calculate the ROI and also evaluate which voice AI solution makes sense for your business. So you can find that second link in the description, and I'm going to walk you through this in this video. So now that you have hopefully already heard a voice agent in action, I want to show you in which areas it would make sense. So I'm first of all going to cover the criteria, if this is for you. Second, the areas of use case. And third, the ROI calculation. All right, let's start with the criteria. So there are 4 ways you can use this. You can either save human labor, save money. You can make money by having the AI make sales for you. You can improve your brand and customer experience, or you can just get data from your employees to make better decisions. Now, if you want to save money, for example, you have a receptionist and you maybe have a call center, right? And you don't want to work with the call center anymore. You're paying them $3,000 a month. You can get an AI which does this for $300 a month, for example. And in this case, I would say a prerequisite is at least having 30 calls per day, because otherwise there's actually not enough volume, which means that you're probably not paying someone enough to actually make this investment worthwhile. More on the ROI later, of course, but just as a rough measurement. Exceptions to this. If you have a business where a missed phone call could mean several $1,000s, it's okay if you only have 2 phone calls a day, right? That makes no sense. That makes complete sense, because, for example, if you have a plumbing business and you get after-hours calls but you can't answer them, every after-hours call could mean a $3K project. And if you miss that call, you leave $3K on the table, and that customer will go to a competitor. So in this case, you can also have AI make money by taking phone calls that you otherwise couldn't take. Next is customer experience. For example, I worked with an Airbnb management company. Of course, everyone's keen on saving money, but this company was more keen on actually improving customer experience in many languages 24/7. If you want to watch that build, by the way, click this video and see the full thing. Next is collecting data. Now, I've actually also built something like this for a waste management company, where you can collect data from your employees to actually make very high-level decisions. If you'd like to watch that, click up here, and you can just click through. And these are the 4 ways you can make money with voice AI as a business owner. Now, next, we can also categorize these even further, right? We can have internal versus external. Actually, let me draw this like that. And you distinguish between outbound calls and inbound calls, right? AI can make phone calls and it can receive phone calls. And then do you make them to customers or do you make them within your company? So for example, if you have a receptionist, that would be here, right? It's inbound, people call you, and it's from outside, customers calling you. However, you could also be doing this. You could do outbound to a list of old leads and reactivate them. Did this for an insurance company, for example. We reactivated a list of a couple thousand old contacts and got a few sales from that, which is pretty cool. And AI it can call like crazy, right? It can make up to 1,000 phone calls at once simultaneously, so it'll get through your list pretty quick. So this is the next step that I always do. I categorize this into the different areas because it helps you get clarity on what's actually happening in your business. By the way, if you would like more clarity on what you can do in your business using AI, I've actually made another video on how to do an AI audit for your business. Also, if you would like to work with me for me to analyze your business and do all of this for you, plus a lot more, you can just click the first link down below to book a free AI consultation call. The basic idea here is that we don't want to reinvent anything, right? We're just trying to clone processes that already exist in your business. So if you have a receptionist who's making and taking these phone calls, booking appointments, answering questions, and so on, we're not going to get rid of that receptionist. We're not going to actually replace her. But basically what's going to happen is that we put an AI in the receptionist's place, and then the receptionist rises above. So now the receptionist can help you manage the company. She can do much more important things. All right, great. Next, the ROI calculation. So there's a few things we can look at. Once again, we're going to refer to these 4 categories over here, right? If you want to save money, you would calculate the difference between human labor and AI labor, which is usually 3 to 10 times more effective, right? This is how you could save money. If you want to work this out, and by the way, saving human labor applies to almost every one of these, you can click, if you go to the second link and sign up here, you can click on the ROI calculator, and that will lead you over here. This is a little mini app that I built to help calculate the savings. And effectively what this is you input your calls per day. So let's say you get 100 calls per day. I've assumed that an average employee can handle 80 calls per day, which is, in all fairness, pretty generous because most of the time you have to not just take the call, but after the call you have to write emails, you have to update the CRM and so on. AI has a fixed price between 10 and 13 cents per minute roughly, which if you compare it to an employee in a moment is a lot cheaper. You can also input the annual cost of your employee, the average duration of your minute, and with 100 calls per day, you would at least have 1 to 2 employees full-time at your reception. So if we click generate, this will generate an ROI calculation over the whole year. And overall, you'll see without AI, you'll be paying roughly this much. With AI, you'll be paying 1/6 of this, right? It's only 1,000 a month based on these usage minutes. The 16,000 at the top this depends on the agency that you're working with, right? This could be 16 grand for a one-time setup fee. That's how I structure it at my company, that we basically set it up once for you and you don't pay recurring. You only cover the cost for the minutes. And over here, you can see the cumulative savings over the year. So after the second month already, you're saving money with this. And after 12 months, you're saving close to $60,000 despite a setup fee of 16 grand, despite the usage minutes. Simply the human labor costs are, 5 grand a month, 5.5 grand a month savings. And that's pretty cool. So if you want to get a rough idea of the ROI that you would get, look at this because it's going to give you a pretty good idea. Next, for outbound, right? If you want to make money with this, you would take the labor savings, right? That's always the case because you have to usually pay someone to make these phone calls. But then you also take a look at if this AI reactivates 20,000 leads, and I think that 1% of those might close, or 0.5% might close, and each one of those is a $1,000 ticket, then you can work out that by calling 20,000 leads, you might make, $30,000, which is also pretty cool. The brand is not directly trackable, but overall probably the most impactful, because this is something that helps you long term, right? It helps you stand out like crazy. It's something that you can brag about to your competitors. So it's not trackable directly, but customer experience is something that will last very, very long. The data that you can collect through Voice AI is very trackable because data in itself it's trackable, right? It's data, it's numbers. And the cool thing here is that you have a very great amount of clarity in your business thanks to this data, which allows you to make big decisions, which you usually couldn't. So overall, this is a very high-level approach as to how I think about voice AI, who would qualify for something like this, and hopefully this was able to save you business owners a bit of time. You can think through this yourself, of course. You're more than welcome to work with me, and I can help you identify the best areas of use case for you. But with the tools I've given you, I think now it should be less of a mystery and more of a scientific approach to what makes sense and what doesn't. Now, moving on to the second part of the video for the developers. So, once again, we're going to cover a few different things: the tech stack, then the architecture, and then the success criteria. So the tech stack, I'm going to make this very, very simple for you. You're going to use VAPI for the voice AI and N8N for the backend. I don't want to hear anything else. And the reason why is because everybody is so fixed on chasing the new AI tool, the new LLM. It doesn't matter. It's like choosing between a 6K camera and an 8K camera. They're both fantastic, right? It doesn't matter. And that's why for anyone who's trying to build this and is overwhelmed, you're going to choose VAPI, you're going to choose N8N, and you're going to choose Twilio. There are some exceptions, of course. For example, I had a client who we just simply couldn't find a Twilio number for his country, so we had to switch to a different provider. But cross those bridges when it comes to it. The only exception that I would make to VAPI, use Retail AI only if you want multilingual agents that are over, I should probably add this here, that are greater than 3 languages. So if you want more than 3 languages, go to Retail AI because it has a great preset for multilingual. Next, for VAPI, you're going to use the default transcriber. The VAPI voices are the best. So if we go into VAPI right here, you're always going to use OpenAI 4.0 cluster or 4.1. It's that simple. Like, just pick one of the two and you're done. And then in the voices, choose the VAPI voices. And then here you can choose I like Harry for the male one or Kylie for the female one. That's pretty much all you're going to need, right? Otherwise, choose 11 labs, but then you start getting into all sorts of accents and choices. And it's good that we have these choices, but people just overcomplicate things. And on N8N, to keep it simple, don't even bother about self-hosting, just cloud hosted for now. Okay? So this is all you're going to need for pretty much 90% of the builds. Probably more. Great, next, the architecture. So the things that I've learned. First of all, single prompts are better than workflows of any kind. Don't use the VAPI workflows, quite genuinely. Not for production. They're cool, they're nice, but the very nature of AI means that it should be fluid. It should be allowed to make decisions and not confined into a workflow. And I don't care if this is VAPI workflows or Retail AI conversational workflows, just stick to single prompts. The reason why people don't want to do that is because if a single prompt doesn't work, people are often confused and go, well, why doesn't it work? I've told the AI not to say the specific word and it's still saying it. You've just got to get better at prompt engineering, you know? That's why people pay a lot of money for prompt engineering and AI in general, because it's not easy, right? So don't take the shortcut of workflows. It's not going to end pretty. Second, if you want to, for example, if a single prompt just won't be enough, build a team of agents, right? So you can build one agent for qualifying, one for appointments, one for, I don't know what else, updating the CRM. It doesn't matter. Please, please, please first try to put them into one big prompt, because you'll be actually surprised if you engineer it well how good a single agent can work. You can most likely just condense them down into one prompt, most likely. So try that first. But if that doesn't work, always use squads rather than workflows. Next, outsource 80% into N8N, away from the AI. You want to have AI make as little decisions as possible. So for example, I was just building an AI for a contractor which did the scheduling, and the AI basically asks, what time would you like to come? And then the customer says, I don't know, let's go tomorrow. And the AI sends that data into N8N, and then we let N8N do the heavy lifting. So the date that got sent through, in N8N we check, is this date in the past? Is it in the future? Is it on a weekend? Is it past opening times? And so on. So you wouldn't tell the AI, make sure the date isn't past 5 p.m., right? It'll probably get it right, but it's much better just to send it into N8N and have N8N use that code to identify, is the date in the past? Is it past opening times? And so on. right? And you can actually then, if it is past opening times, you just send a message back to the AI saying, sorry, that's past our opening times, pick another date, right? It's that simple. And it's much better than trying to put everything into AI, because AI is already overwhelmed enough to try and keep a natural human conversation going and use all the different tools, right? It doesn't also need to do all the qualifying and checking on top of that. Great. Okay, next. Oh, one thing I've almost forgot. I usually don't ask the question, can we build it? Because the answer is most likely yes. I ask the question, should we build it? Sometimes it actually makes sense to rethink the processes a bit. For example, for the Airbnb company that I was working with, we could have had the AI describe the 10 different Airbnbs that are available, but wouldn't it be much easier just to send a quick link to the website so that the customers can look at the photos themselves? So sometimes AI doesn't actually have to do everything just because it can. All right, there's a reason why other technologies exist. Nice. Success criteria. This is the last one and arguably the most important. My rule is you have to do 10 hours of calling minimum per language after the development is completed. So if you have an AI with 2 different languages, you will sit there for 20 hours and just call it. And you're going to try to break it. You're going to schedule 100 appointments just to make sure that this works. That is the only way you know that you've done all of this correctly. Second, success tracking in Airtable. You have to have metrics and you have to monitor this for at least 1 month after the launch. And then you can see the calls, you can tweak it. You have to actually stay with it for at least a couple of weeks to make sure it's up and running. Right? So you can't just drop a bomb and run away. Because I actually do see that from a few developers. You have to do all these 3 to actually make sure that what you've built works. I hope I was able to give you some clarity in this video. Trust me, I've made all of these mistakes and they were not pretty, so take it from me. Don't do a lot of the development mistakes that I've just shared with you. Keep it really simple. And for the business owners, there is a very, very scientific way we can go through your business and identify these opportunities, right? It's not going to be about finding the latest AI software. It's not about knowing the latest LLM. All of that's cool, but it's changing so fast that actually someone like me, I cannot keep up because there's new updates literally every second day. But the lesson here is actually that you don't have to keep up at all. Just pick something, get really good at it, and you're going to be fine.